welcome back to my channel. I'm Amelia and I have a flower farm in South Devon in the UK where we grow thousands of beautiful flowers, both for retail bouquets and for wholesale. One of the flowers I am going to start today from seed is Rudbeckia, and it's February and it's going to be the only flower that I start from seed. This is mainly because I don't want to nurse any plants through the winter that are going to struggle with low temperatures. Just because you can start seeds doesn't mean you have to straight away. So I'm going to give the weather the benefit of the doubt, and we've had a cold winter here in Devon. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and I'm going to start my seeds a little bit later than what is necessarily the recommended starting time. So one of the plants, however, that needs a longer growing time in order to get to the stage where it's going to flower for me later in the summer is Rudbeckia, and the Rudbeckias I'm growing are Rudbeckia hirta. Now here in the UK, and you need to really think when you're buying your seeds and you're thinking about what you want to grow, how it grows for me and how it grows for somebody else can be completely different depending on where you live. So the most important thing for you is to check what your local growing conditions can be. A plant can behave very differently for somebody, for example, where I am, compared to somebody who's in the south of the US. Therefore, when you're thinking about, is this plant a perennial? Is it an annual? Is it a biennial? Well, it could be all three. And Rudbeckia hirta is one of those ones that actually says that on the seed packet. And you pick it up and you think, well, which one is it? Well, it can be any of those things because it depends where you're growing it. For me, here in the UK, in Devon, I find Rudbeckia hirta grows as an annual for me. So I start it from seed every year, typically in February, so now, and then it will grow on and on and on and flower in the late summer, so late July, August, September, and keeps on going until the first frosts. I've then found the plants die for me over the winter. I've not been able to bring them through. Some people though will tell you that you can overwinter them. I haven't found that to be true for me. However, that is just Rudbeckia hirta. I have here today, which is one I'm going to sow, not for the flower farm, actually for my garden, Rudbeckia triloba. Now this is a perennial Rudbeckia. Okay, so it's a completely different way of treating this plant. I'm going to sow the seed in the same way, but the plant is going to bulk up. It's going to become a plant which I will be able to divide in later years. I won't have to keep resowing it from seed. So this is the perennial variety I'm going to sow today, but I'm also going to sow some annual varieties of Rudbeckia. Okay, why would you grow Rudbeckias? Well, for me, they are an absolute staple in the cutting garden. They give you plenty of flowers all the way through the late summer. I say late summer because for me they start late July, early August. So they give you lots and lots of flowers. They have virtually no pest problems at all. Deer won't eat them, rabbits don't eat them. Pollinators absolutely love them. So that means you're just attracting so many beneficial insects to your cutting patch, which is only going to be good. They just love hot sunny days, so they're a drought resistant plant. So if you're looking for something which after our last summer here in the UK, which was no rain, I mean here in Devon I don't think we had rain for 12 weeks, 14 weeks, which is really unusual. If you're looking for a plant that's going to cope with those types of conditions, Rudbeckia is the one. It's also a really beautiful flower. It lasts in the vase typically 7 to 10 days, and it is one of those flowers, and there are a few flowers like this, sunflowers being another one, that is a dirty water flower. That means it's going to make your water manky. You do have to change that water every day, or if you prefer, you could put a little bit of bleach in the water to keep the water clean. But either way, if you're growing for a cut flower, absolutely brilliant. If you're growing for a garden plant, absolutely brilliant. I would say if you're growing for the garden, if you're not cutting your flowers and bringing them into the house, then I would just keep deadheading them. When those flowers have gone over, deadhead them because it is going to flower for you prolifically. Okay, how do we grow them? Okay, I've brought down to the potting shed. Normally I would do this in the greenhouse, but I thought I'll keep it all easy and I'll do it in the potting shed. A seed tray, and I'm going to put some peat-free compost in that. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. This is Melcourt Silver Grow peat-free potting mix. You can get a seed starting mix. I tend to just use the potting mix. We have always been peat free here in the business. I've never used a peat based compost. I've had variable results, touch wood. This one I can recommend. My plants have been absolutely fine in it. So Melcourt Silver Grow, you can get it in the garden centres. We order ours on a big pallet, and the bag looks slightly different, but it's the same thing. Okay, so I'm just making sure my compost has got rid of all the lumps. So I don't want any big lumps. I want to break those up. And fill your seed tray to the top. Don't think I'll skimp on compost, save myself some money and just fill it halfway. That actually creates a shadow for seedlings. They're so tiny when they emerge. Get rid of any big sticks that you don't want. You could sieve it, I don't bother, but you could. And just fill it right to the top. Now, Rudbeckia seeds are small, so ideally, I didn't bring a watering can down with me. Ideally, you'd water it now. I'm pushing my compost down to just get rid of the air. You could get a nice one of those nice tamper things, little wooden thing on a stick. Oh, I haven't got anything like that. I just use my hands. I just like to get my hands in there and get on with it. So pushing the compost down. Now, I can see now I push the compost down. I do actually have a lip, so I'm going to get some more. And it seems silly just giving advice on filling compost trays, but people fill them halfway, and you just know that seedling's not going to get off to the best start. And to grow good flowers and to grow good plants, it has to start from now. The seed has to get off to the best start possible. So give it a fighting chance, fill them right to the top, use a good compost, peat free, and get them going. So there we go, filled it to the top. The dogs are walking around by my feet wondering what I'm doing, who I'm talking to. I would water it now. I've forgotten my watering can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sow my seeds, but when I take that to the greenhouse later, I'm going to put my tray inside a bigger tray and water into the bigger tray so that compost can soak that water up from underneath. I do that because the seeds are small. Okay, I don't want to water it in a minute with a big watering can and perhaps wash them away, wash them all to one side after I've placed them in the tray. Now, I choose to do all my seeds in a big plain open seed tray like this. The reason for that is because I'm going to be giving these seeds, and a lot of seeds we start in the spring are going to need some bottom heat from a heat mat. Now, if I was to do this in cells, say I had a cell tray here, and typically this size would be about a 40 cell tray, I could do that, and I could put a seed every cell, which would work fine, and I could put that on the heat mat. Problem is, I know I need 200 of each variety of Rudbeckia that I'm growing, and today I have 4 different varieties. I'm not going to have enough room on my heat mat for all those seed trays if I do them individually. Therefore, I'm going to start them in one big seed tray, and I prick them out when they've grown up. Now, I'm doing this in real time, so this video is just how to sow the seed. When they've germinated and they're up, I'll come back and I'll do you a video catching up with what to do next when they've all started popping up. Now, I would expect these to germinate within 10 to 14 days. So I'm looking for little green shoots after about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks if it's been particularly cold. But I'm going to give them some bottom heat. They like it warm, so to germinate you are going to need to get them to at least 20, 22, maybe 24 degrees underneath. My heat mat's just a generic one from Amazon. It doesn't tell me the temperature. It germinates seeds like this absolutely fine. So Amazon heat mat, go for it. Mine isn't anything particularly special or expensive. Okay, the seeds of Rudbeckia hirta, and this variety is Sahara. That is a mix of colours. It's absolutely beautiful. Some of them are double, some of them are really, really fuzzy. They're dark brown, they're sunset shades, they're everything in between. There's nothing bright and jarring about Sahara. It's a really, really beautiful mix. So definitely recommend this one, but you don't get very many seeds per pack, okay? I think I've written on them, some of them, it's about 25 per pack. So I know I need 200 to fill my bed, which means I'm going to sow more than that because not every single one will germinate. They come in these little tiny like rice packets, and what I do when I've got a big seed tray like this is I want to give them enough room, but I am going to overcrowd them. I'm not going to put them absolutely together, but as soon as they are germinated, as soon as they are big enough to handle, I'm going to be pricking these out. I don't want them to grow on for very long, overcrowding and in competition with each other. But for me, I'm trying to save space. If you're just doing a few, absolutely start them in a cell tray. So there's my seed, really tiny. And they are the most beautiful cone-shaped flowers, like a daisy. And I'm going to pick them up one at a time, and I am going to place them on the surface of the compost. I don't cover them unless I'm told by the seed packet, or I've googled it and had a good old look to see what everyone else says. Unless it says you have to cover this seed, I very rarely cover any of my seeds with compost. I find there's more chance of them being washed away, too deep, and also when you put them on the surface you can see what's happening. You can see, oh look, that one is germinating, and they'll get their roots down no problem. So very rarely cover any of my seed with anything, so that saves you having to buy anything like vermiculite. You can use it, absolutely, and it does a lot of good, but I just find cuddling's expensive. All this extra stuff, you know, if I can get away with not using it, I'm going to do it. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just placing them carefully onto the compost surface, and I'm just trying to place them one at a time. So what I want is, I want a little bit of space around each one. If I just sprinkled them, there's every chance I just get a massive patch of them. And again, remember, this plant, this annual Rudbeckia, has got to go from seed to seedling to small plant to going out in the ground to flower, all in less than a year. It's not even a year, is it? Because it's going to finish flowering by the first frost, so October. It's got a lot of stuff to be doing in that year. So I want it to get off to the best start. I don't want it to start by thinking, oh, I'm a bit overcrowded, and be a bit weak because of it. So I'm being really careful because they are like gold dust. They are expensive, and I don't want to waste any of them. Now this is Rudbeckia Sahara, one of my absolute favourite mixes. Definitely recommend as a cut flower. Really pretty, really lovely. I actually call them teddy bear nose flowers because the middle of the cone to me looks like those teddy bear noses, you know, and they're slightly, oh, they're really cute. You'll see it. You'll have to look at it to find out. This is Rudbeckia Sahara. I'm going to finish sowing all of those. I want 200, so I'm probably going to do 250. The other varieties I have today, which I also love, is Cherokee Sunset. Now Cherokee Sunset is a slightly bigger flower than Sahara. It's a lovely double, and it's a lovely kind of muddy, slight, I don't want to say brown because it's not brown, it's like tan. You think kind of cowboys, I always think of cowboys when I think of it, but it's a really, really beautiful variety. And again, that's Rudbeckia hirta, so I'm going to treat that like an annual. I'm going to sow it every year. Another annual, Rudbeckia annual, is Cherry Brandy. Now that one is, oh, the seed packets. This is Plants of Distinction. That's just where I could find it for the cheapest. Chiltern seeds, both I use loads of all the time. They're retail packets, easy to find, good service, yeah, recommend. This is Cherry Brandy. So this Rudbeckia is unusual. It's in this lovely russety red colour. Actually, the name kind of describes it for you. It's completely different from normal Rudbeckias. I find it slightly shorter, so just bear that in mind if you're putting it in a garden. It's not a big tall one. It's just the most beautiful shade of red, russet red. So late autumn colours, absolutely perfect one. And because it is a later flowering one, you can get away with like thinking, right, autumn bouquets, Cherry Brandy, absolutely on the money. The perennial one I'm growing for my garden is Rudbeckia Triloba Golden Delight. Okay, really, really pretty. I'm trying to remember what it looked like. I wrote it down actually. So it's a very small yellow flower. So it's going to get really, really tall. It's a 1.5 metre tall one. It's for my garden, and I wanted that prairie look to my garden this year. So I thought, well, I'm going to grow that. It's a perennial, so I can move it around when it's finished, chop it up, lift it, make more of it. So I'm going to grow it from seed this year. It does say it's a first year flowering perennial, which is unusual. For lots of perennials take a year to bulk up and then flower the following year. This one is going to flower this year apparently, so I'll keep you updated on that. But it's called Golden Delight, and the reason why I chose it was because it's got lots of very small star-like yellow flowers. So I wanted that kind of look to the back of my borders because it's a nice tall one. So I'm going to give that one a go as well, sow that onto the surface of my compost. When I've finished sowing all my seeds, so I'm not going to do them all together, this seed tray is just going to be Rudbeckia Sahara. I will label what it is because I will forget and it's hard to tell the difference. Rudbeckia seedlings are really easy to identify because they're furry. So when you touch them, they literally feel hairy. So when they come up, you'll see what I mean, and I will show you mine. When I've watered it and I've taken it back up to the greenhouse, popped it on the heated mat, I am going to pop a seed hat on top. Now the reason for that is to keep the humidity in. These plants want it warm, they want it humid when they are germinating. As soon as my seeds have germinated, I've started to see green shoots and they're up and they've got leaves, I will take this off. That doesn't mean that I won't take it off at all in that time, but you do want to keep it nice and humid. You do want to lock that in. But when the plants are growing, they're going to need oxygen. And if you lock all that away, you're going to end up with problems. So as soon as they're up and they're green, you can see green shoots, take the hat off. The only reason I would ever put that back on when they're all up is if it's going to be absolutely Baltic weather outside, like -5 or something, then I would probably give them a hat. Otherwise, treat your seeds, treat your plants a little bit meaner than you think they can take. You will do more damage by closeting them than you will by actually making them a little bit hardier. So yeah, it's kind of rule I apply to my kids as well. Anyway, right, that's how you sow Rudbeckia, that's how you grow it. I'll come back in 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks, show you how we're getting on, and hopefully we're going to have lots of Rudbeckia babies to show you what to do with next. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll hope to see you again soon.